Hey everyone! It's been a while. It's been, what, 6 months nearly? 5, 6 months since my last upload. One pretty good reason for that, or one main reason, and that's because I haven't had the internet. So about 6 months ago I moved house. Moved to basically a place kind of in the middle of nowhere that before I moved in was derelict for like 12 years. Got all done up. And basically it's never had a phone line, it's never had internet in its life, so there was no lines to the house or anything. Took ages for BT to sort it out, made endless amount of mistakes. But yeah, 6 months on, we've actually got the internet. So the uploads can commence. If you follow me on Instagram, which I'll put on the screen somewhere, here maybe. So if you don't, go follow it. Yeah, if you do, you'll notice that I have been working on it. Been doing little bits and bobs. Work's been mental, so I haven't had a lot of time down the unit to do an awful lot. And I've been away with work and holiday, and I went to French Alps mountain biking for a week, and this and that, and yeah, excuses, and I'm not going to lie, I did lose a bit of motivation for a little while, kind of coming down here, and I was like, couldn't be fucked. So I was sort of just pottering around and then going home. So, gave myself a kick in the ass, and I made a start. I actually bought some bits, which makes a big difference. Went to Retro Rides to Chelsea Walsh, that made a big difference, because that was the first year I've been to Retro Rides without my Corrado in, what, 3 or 4 years, 5 years, something like that, about taking up the hill. So it kind of depressed me, and at the same time gave me a boot in the ass. So yeah, lots of little things have been done, nothing major, lots of little things. But all the big stuff is hopefully going to start happening as of now, basically. He says, fingers crossed, as long as nothing goes wrong. So, what you haven't seen is, the major thing is, I got the prop in, measured. Now, the difference between a Mark IV 4Motion and a Corrado wheelbase is about 40mm. Now, I was just going to go sod it, just take 40mm out of the prop and see what happens. But I didn't. I measured as best as I could, double checked. So basically I installed the prop onto the gearbox, into it, measured around, and the wheels were too far in the back arches, they were touching the back of the arches. So I had to come forward. Funny enough, it was about 40mm. So I could have just gone sod it and got it short than 40mm. But I wanted to make sure. There is a little bit of play obviously in the join in the middle. So yeah, so that has now come back. There was a bit of a wait, got messed around. Actually took 4 weeks to get it done, get it shortened. So that was a month of not being able to do anything, really. I did do some stuff in between, boring stuff. So yeah, let's walk around the car and see what I've got up to. Sounds. Take you up. Try hard. So, there she is. Still there. Haven't abandoned it, haven't sold it. Let's move this out of the way. So yeah, there she is, the little beauty. Probably looks the same as it did last time. Front part of the rotisserie is off because gearbox for the engine's back in for now. So I got my adapters. So that's the gearbox for so it's an O2M gearbox adapter. So that's a 6-speed gearbox basically, the O2M. This is, I can't remember the code on this, on the 4Motion. Basically it's the same gearbox, apart from it's got the half shaft. I've probably spoke about this before. Then the front engine mount, so that's part of the Epitech kit, which bolts to where that is, and then you've got to weld it to the original mount. Now I have reinforced it a little bit with these plates. This isn't finished, so bear with me. But yeah, I've reinforced it with this plate just to make it a bit stiffer. I've also, that's actually reinforced as well. So standard mount doesn't have this plate in here, so I reinforced that. Also, so that's on and done. And yeah, happy days basically. Then, obviously, some people know, some people don't, you have to move this rear engine mount. I don't know how much it is, about an inch to the right hand side. You've got to cut it off. So all I did was cut that off, bolt it onto the gearbox mount, got the front in, got the back left one in, which is behind there, and then positioned it, made sure it cleared the drive shaft. It's all a little bit tight in there, you can see, but yeah, it clears, so that's happy days. So that's in. As you see, front drive shafts are in. This one needs shortening. I'm going to get it done properly, but for now, so I can get it together, I shortened it myself. I think I took 20mm out. So basically what's happening before is I would put it in, and then when you lift the hub up, if I can do it with one hand, it would get to sort of like here, and it wouldn't go anymore. So it didn't have enough movement to let the wheel sit straight. So now there's enough movement in that. So yeah. So that's the front. Oh yeah, most of the engine, most of the paint and all the gunk is now stripped as well, which is good. Wire wheeled most of it. There's a few little bits and bobs in gaps and cracks and whatnot here and there, but that's all pretty much stripped. I have welded up all the holes. I pretty much, bit of filler in that one as well. That's how keen I am. So that is the blower. Welded that up. Welded up all the little holes that I don't necessarily need. There's a reason there's levels on there, which we'll get back to in a minute. Yeah, so there's a little bit more to strip, just to get all the last little bits off, like down in these gaps and all behind here and stuff like that. I'm also gonna get rid of these knobbles on both sides because I don't need them. Not going for a show bay, but I'm just looking for a nice clean bay. So yeah, front end area is ready. Is ready basically for me to carry on with the rear end. So on the inside, I did the awful job of removing all that black tarry sound deadening stuff. I don't know what it is. I freaking hate it. It's this stuff. This horrible stuff. But yeah. Tried a few different ways. I know a lot of people use dry ice. Surprisingly hard to get hold of dry ice in the UK quite easily, and having the time of getting it and using it straight away. There is another process. You can use plumber's pipe freezer, but one, it only comes in tiny cans and it's freaking expensive. It's like 13 quid a can for a tiny little can. So I experimented. This was heat gun, and instead of just heating up the top surface, starting to scrape it, it just spreads it and makes a mess. If you actually heat up a large area, let it heat up the metal floor, it'll actually unstick the glue underneath it, and it all comes up pretty well. And then what you're left with, it's not left showing, but you're left with a bit of brown residue, blacky brown residue from it. So I don't know if there's any left in here, but it's kind of like this stuff, this black sort of residue. Now I use gun wash / degreaser. Nasty stuff. Don't want to breathe too much of it in, got pretty high, but yeah, so I use this. Asked online, a few people said that's what they used. Literally sprayed it on, put it in a spray bottle, sprayed it on, left it, come back, and it just wiped off. So that made life a shitload easier. So yeah, floor is completely stripped. I've finished most of the internal. So where the floor pan I welded from the underside, I went round and tigged the whole of the underside of it as well, and that filler is just where, because this was a patterned panel and it was really badly moulded, it was all dented and rippled, so I've just gone over and filled it just to make it look a little bit tidier when whatever goes on top. I have got an idea for the floor, but I won't say yet because I'm not sure I'm going to do it, but I have got an idea. So yeah, that is the floor, pretty much done. Got a few little holes here and there to fix up. There's a little hole there. There's a few bits and bobs scattered around, which I need to do, but they're only little, tiny little holes, which will be okay. Right, if you remember, on the rear end, I was trying to do it off jack stands and it was wiggling around and moving and whatnot. So I built this frame on dollies, on dolly wheels. Now it made life a shitload easier because I put the wheels on, made it so the wheels sat in, and it kind of held the wheels. I can actually adjust the camber of the wheels, get them level, get the camber kind of there and the toe kind of there, and it just stays pretty solid and like pretty easy. I'm not going to move it because it's kind of in a good position, but it just rolls around, and then to stop it moving, just wedge a bit of metal underneath and it kind of locks it if you wedge it both sides. I then got the subframe level on thinking that, you know, right, it needs to be level that way and it needs to be level that way. So I did that, and I literally just tacked some scrap bits of pipe down to the frame I made in the dolly onto the subframe, and that is holding it all pretty solid. So it's not wobbling around anywhere. It's not, you know, yeah, it's not a pain in the ass basically. I don't know if it's moved much. Yeah, it looks like it has a bit, so we'll have to jig around with it a little bit, but problem is there's not many level places to put this on, to be honest, on this subframe, so because nothing's really that straight. See if that has moved a little bit, but yeah, it's not too bad. So yeah, oh yeah, that's it. I did it off. So I did it off the actual Haldex, the diff itself. So it is slightly off, but we can adjust that when we put the main sort of frame in. So that was that. It's made life a shitload easier. Again, both sides. As I said, the prop has been shortened. The prop is actually under there. If it's too dark, it's not connected yet, but there's the rear part and front part. Yeah, so I need to connect those up and get them on. And then the plan is basically going to get the prop linked up, prop it up. Last time before I had it shortened, I got everything level. So I got the short part level with the car, and this bit has a slight sort of, the rear end has a slight incline to it, nothing too drastic, but a slight incline, which I did notice, which means I'm gonna have to probably cut a little bit out of this because it needed more room to move up and down with the suspension and whatnot. So this part might have to be extended to give the whole thing a little bit more room. So yeah, so that's that. What else have I done? I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, sunroof nearly kind of deleted. So what I did with the sunroof, if sort of thing you wanted to do. So the original sunroof panel I got, and it's actually two skins. So that's a supporting skin that strengthens it. It's literally glued and it's folded around the edges. Now all I did was cut the glue with a Stanley knife on the inside and then ground with a flat disc the folded edges off, and it just peeled apart, which made life quite a bit easier because it gave me pretty much the perfect shape for the roof. You'll see that the edge that was folded I flattened out, and it pretty much gave it a nice fit. It's a bit low there, but it needs, it's actually, the tacks have actually broken a bit there. I don't know if you can see that moving or not. But yeah, so that needs to push it up, and then obviously because it is quite flimsy, being a single skin, that is the natural shape of the roof. So it's not too bad. There's a bit of a dip in it, but so what I'm going to do on the inside, just to stop that popping in and out, is I'll just run a thin sheet of steel or something across just to give it a bit more support. Yeah, so that's that. What I have done to get it ready to start messing around with the rear end is I've leveled up the car as best as I can. So with jack stands and rotisserie and whatnot, I've leveled up the car horizontally both ways as best as I can to match, basically to match the levelness of that, if you know what I mean. So that's the rear end. Is get it in the middle. So that's pretty much bang on. And then if you go around, we've got the front is pretty much again bang on. As for the side, it is slightly out, but what I did do is measure off the floor to the top of the sills on both sides, and this back end is 235, I think, or 335 on both sides, perfect. And the front edge here is 225 or 325, I can't remember exactly. Both edge identical. So the car is on a bit of a slight forward lean, but at the end of the day, that can be adjusted with suspension when it's, you know, when it's all done. So I can sort the rake out. The main thing, which I'm going to do a tiny little bit more fettling, is getting this rear subframe all level and flat and whatnot, and getting the prop straight and flat in line with the car. And then, so yeah, and then I can start bending tubes and whatnot. Let me try and find a bit of tube. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. Oh yeah, wheels for the Corrado in the corner. Ooh, just a quick show you. Or something a bit different for a Corrado. Yeah, so the idea is, well, I don't know what the idea is. Make it up as I go along, really. The front here. So what I'm planning on doing is need to clean off whatever is down in here still on both sides, which is no problem. But yeah, with this front one, because it's not too far for it to reach, I'm probably just going to put a slight kink in the middle of a bar, basically, so it will come from an angle there and go up, mount to the middle, and then it will come down and mount there to that side. As for the rear part, I'm not 100% sure because the way the Corrado chassis is, a bit funny, it's odd on different sides. So this side I've got plenty of room to, you know, maybe come down to here, or straight down into there, whereas this side I don't really have a lot of room to do much. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It might be a case of having to maybe come sort of, instead of going, because obviously I don't have a lot of room to go down that way, if I was to come like this down to there, and then I could put a cross brace in the middle to support it, and then a few more braces here, there and everywhere just to support it all. And then the cage will come down onto all of that framework as well. Once that's in, I can then weld it in place, either tack it all in place, you know, or fully weld it. Then I'm going to completely strip the subframe of parts and just have the subframe and all the joining bits and bobs. So then I can flip the car on the rotisserie and line up the front arms where I need them to go, basically, and where I need to cut holes in the floor and make plates. What I did do was I got the measurements off someone of the actual mounting points of like a Mark IV Golf floor pan, and then I've basically made life a little bit easier with me, and I've added that supporting bar here, if you can see that, and that stops it wiggling left and right, and it's, you know, these arms are now the right distance apart, so yeah, they, you know, where they're going to sit. The annoying thing is, what it looks like is that all that stuff I replaced, steel-wise, is going to have to be cut out, and yeah, and make something to go in. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that part yet, but it's, you know, yeah, we'll mess around with that. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure, but I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure I'll figure it out. Yeah, I don't know. Ideally, we want this sunk up in the car as much as possible. So, whether or not I put some sort of mounting up in the car, I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll wait till it's upside down and I can cut some holes and draw around it and whatnot. But yeah, so we'll figure that out. I'm going to say it on here. Yeah, so we will figure that out when it gets to it. But yeah, so hopefully in the next couple of videos, that rear end will be in its own little home. And it will actually be attached, and there'll be a prop in there, and so on and so forth. So yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, exciting things are starting to happen. Videos will hopefully start coming a bit more regular now. Apologise for the hold up on videos, purely because, like I said, it's not been in my control. Also, where I live, I have no phone signal, so I can't even upload videos off my phone or do anything. It's like living in, I don't know. I would have taken anything. Dial up. Give me dial up. I would have had that. Would have been happy with that. Anything. So, anyway, enough gibbering. I will see you on the next video when I will be actually doing some work on the Corrado. Wait. Right, guys. Good to be back. Big things happening. I'll see you next time. Bye.